talked to film critic Ali Arikan to get some analysis on the 93rd Academy Awards. First of all, appears to me that all eyes are on the Chloe Zhao, the first woman of color to win the Best Director and only the second woman ever to win.
Well, there is that. I mean, if you care about that sort of thing, and a lot of people should do, there is obviously something that is very interesting about that. The fact that a person of color won, a woman of color won the Best Director award. But something else that I'm very much interested in is the fact that she's a woman of color of also a billionaire. It comes from a billionaire's background. And she won it, which is great. But I think there is a problem when it comes to representation, especially when it comes to this sort of stuff, especially in Hollywood, especially in Oscars, where identity politics seem to take override what is even more important, which is class and nationality. She comes from a very upper class Chinese background, and she won. Another person, obviously, was Emerald Fennell, who also comes from a very upper middle class, aristocratic, in fact, background, and she won as well. So I don't know whether we're supposed to celebrate this or whether we're supposed to actually realize that despite certain weird things about representation, certain things still remain the same. Doesn't matter what race you are, class actually
right, and it does seem it does seem like that diversity is very important for the Academy, especially after they faced so much criticism. But how is this influencing the awards in general and the way they pick who won what?
Well, I mean, this is what I was trying to say. At the end of the day, it doesn't really influence them at all. I thought that the whole thing was more like a facade. Well, first of all, this is supposed to be very much fun. It wasn't fun. I thought the whole thing was a shambles. It was interesting to begin with, but then you realize that there was not going to be any jokes, and there weren't any jokes. To be perfectly honest with you, obviously I'm meeting you up from New York, and it's almost 12:30, almost 1 o'clock in midnight. And to be perfectly honest, I slept for like an hour afterwards.
I do want to ask you, I do want to ask you one more thing. So the Oscars for the Best Actor went to Anthony Hopkins. How surprising was that? That's very interesting.
That was a surprise. That was a surprise, and that was great. That was absolutely wonderful. I mean, that was a surprise because obviously Chadwick Boseman is never going to, who was a wonderful actor, unfortunately, he's never going to obviously have the chance to have that opportunity ever again. But Anthony Hopkins winning for this year's greatest performance and this year's greatest film was a surprise and was well deserved. I loved it. That is the only thing that made me happy tonight. Anything else I thought was a fiasco.
So just briefly, Ali, what was the main message the Academy wanted to send to all of us this year?
Well, the main message was diversity. Exactly, the main message was diversity. But the problem is they forgot the fact that this is the Oscars. No one cares about diversity. No one really cares about any sort of that. The only thing that people want is a good show, and unfortunately, they failed to deliver a good show. Interesting as it wasn't a good show. It wasn't funny. It wasn't spectacular. It was nothing. It was boring, and they failed in that. The only thing that they succeeded in was Anthony Hopkins winning. And unfortunately, he did that despite Chadwick Boseman losing with his final ever performance.
Okay, Ali Arikan, film critic there for us. Well, all in all, they still managed to shed a light on the movies that very people have seen in cinemas, and especially those from small countries like mine, from Bosnia, that was also nominated this year. So I think there were also other things that were very important messages from this year's Oscars. Ali, thanks so much for that.